What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going through my top 18 Week 8 tight end rankings. I've already gone through the running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and defenses, so check those out after this one if you haven't seen them. But we're looking at the tight ends today. It started off really rough at the position early on in the year. It was looking really gross. I still wouldn't say it's great, but I do think it's improving here. So we're going to start off in tier one. I have three tier one tight ends. The first one here is going to be George Kittle going up against the Cowboys. He has just been the clear-cut tight end one this season. He's averaging 16.9 PPR points per game. I will say he's dealing with a foot injury, so something to monitor. But the concern that I had with Kittle was never talent-based. It was more so based on the opportunity where you have this stacked, offense with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. So the question was, how involved could George Kittle actually be? How consistent could he be on a week-to-week basis? And he just has been a major beneficiary of all these injuries. Ayuk, done for the year. Deebo, very unlikely to play this week. CMC obviously has missed the entire season so far. So George Kittle has been their top target. He's been balling out. I think it's fair to have him here as the number one tight end. Then I have Brock Bowers as a very close second here going up against the Chiefs. What Brock Bowers has been able to do as a rookie has really been insane. At the tight end position, where typically you need to kind of ease into the NFL, it's very rare to have a tight end just completely dominate in year one. And not only is he dominating, but he's dominating on a very, very bad Raiders offense. And it seems like so often we have these young players in bad situations, and we try to make a lot of excuses for them. And quarterback play, the quality of your offense obviously is going to have a big factor on production. But there are some players that are just so elite, they are going to produce no matter the circumstances. I feel like we're seeing a similar thing here with Malik Neighbors. But in Brock Bowers' last three games, he's averaging 19.7 PPR points per game. He's been targeted 36 total times in the last three games. So he's been balling out, locked in tier one tight end. And then the third player in tier three is a massive riser. And I mean, we prayed for times like this with David Njoku. I don't think the last couple of weeks could have gone any better for him. You start off with the Amari Cooper trade. Cooper's leaving the team. David Njoku now stepping up, looks like the clear number one target. And then we finally get the quarterback, shakeup that we were looking for. Deshaun Watson goes down. Looks like we're going to get Jameis Winston starting here. And David Njoku, with Deshaun Watson getting hurt in week 7, he was targeted 14 times, caught 10 of them for 76 yards and a touchdown. David Njoku, in my opinion, definitely has the talent to be in this tier 1 area. We saw last year with Flacco, he was a 15 plus PPR point per game guy with Flacco at quarterback. Now you have Jameis Winston, who's going to come in there. He's going to sling it. He might throw a few interceptions, but he's going to give his weapons opportunities. I think David Njoku should be considered like a high-end tight end one rest of season. And if you have him, maybe you bought low on him, I think you should feel great about him. Now shifting into tier 2, going to start off with Travis Kelce. Had a solid, back-to-back performances prior to this past week. Had put up 15 plus points. Then he kind of flops in week 7. I think we kind of know what we're getting. He's going to be, a top target on this offense. They did just trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think that's going to have a massive impact here in week 8, but it's clear that he is not the same guy we've seen in previous seasons. He has kind of fallen off here. Now, he can still be like a mid to high-end tight end one play. I think he can be, but at this point, I don't really think he's a strong candidate to be the tight end one overall at this point. So he's going to be my tight end 4. Then we have Trey McBride, my tight end 5. On the season, he is the tight end 4 in points per game. He's been fairly consistent, 10 plus PPR points in his last 3 games. He really just has kind of been unlucky in the touchdown department, only scored 1 touchdown. So I think he's a nice mid-tier tight end 1 play. Now moving into a pretty large tier 3, this is like mid-tier tight end 1 to back-end tight end 1. Not the worst options, guys who are certainly playable. We have Jake Ferguson going up against the 49ers. In his 4 healthy games, he has put up 11 plus PPR points in 3 of them. He's been fairly consistent. Number 2 target here for the Cowboys behind CeeDee Lamb. Then I have Kyle Pitts going up against the Buccaneers. In his last 3 games, he started to find some consistency. 10 plus points in all 3 of them. 65 plus receiving yards. And his best game of the season came against the Bucs in that monster Kirk Cousins game. We see the Falcons. They're going up against the Bucs again this week. I think this is a nice spot here for Kyle Pitts. Then I have Tucker Kraft going up against the Jaguars. In Tucker Kraft's last 4 games, he's averaging 14.5 PPR points per game, and he had an insane 100% route participation in week 7. That is very, very rare to see at the tight end position, especially in a tight end room that we thought was going to be a committee heading into the year. He took over even before Luke Musgrave went down, but Tucker Kraft's usage has been really strong. I guess kind of like the red flag for Tucker Kraft is that he's not like the clear number one or number two target on this offense, but this Packers offense is going to have a lot of volume. They have a lot of touchdown upside. Tucker Kraft has proven he's talented, and he's going to have some of those high ceiling games like we've seen over the last few weeks. Then after Tucker Kraft, going to go with Hunter Henry here. In 2 games with Drake May, Hunter Henry has gone 3 for 41 and a touchdown, and then 8 for 92. He looks like he's going to be operating like the Patriots' number one weapon. I will say, not a great matchup here against the Jets. This Patriots offense does seem to have a fairly low weekly floor, but Hunter Henry has definitely been resurrected this season with Drake May coming in, and the volume's going to be there. I think he's a top 10 play. Then after Hunter Henry, going to go with Cole Kmet going up against the Commanders. Before the bye week, he dropped a monster 5 for 70 and 2 touchdown game. He's had 2 games so far this season with over 24 PPR points, so he has a very high weekly ceiling. Not the most consistent option, but it does seem like this Bears offense, this Bears passing attack kind of started to turn the corner. Coming off the bye week, I think Kmet will be a nice tight end one moving forward. Then I have Evan Ingram going up against the Packers. In his last 2 games, returning from injury, he has been targeted 15 total times, and he has a 100% catch rate. 15 targets, 15 receptions. Don't think he's a super high ceiling option, especially if Christian Kirk is healthy, but the volume has been pretty solid. Definitely a playable tight end one. And then the final guy in this tier, definitely a riser due to injury. It is Cade Otton going up against the Falcons. This Bucs offense lost Mike Evans. They lost Chris Godwin. They're clear-cut number 1 and number 2 targets. In that Week 7 game, Cade Otton had the best game of the season, 8 for 100. So I think he's going to be one of their top targets. Pretty decent matchup here against the Falcons, just in terms of being able to put up points. So I definitely think, he's a big winner with those injuries. Now moving into tier 4, this is kind of like the depressing tier. It's just 2 guys here. It's Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid, highly drafted tight ends, same draft class, guys who have just not panned out this season. Starting off here with Sam Laporta, I could see the argument that people are going to say, this is the week, Jameson Williams suspended. I get that. I will say, though, Jameson Williams has not been commanding volume in the last 4-ish games, and that has not changed for Sam Laporta. He is averaging 2.8 targets per game on the season. He has 1 reception in each of his last 2 games. That is just not good enough. And then you look at this matchup here against the Titans. They're double-digit favorites in this one. I think they're going to be super run-heavy. I don't know if the passing volume is going to be there. Could he have a few big plays, get into the end zone? Sure. But with what we've seen so far this season, I don't know how you fire up Sam Laporta with any confidence. And, that sucks to say because he was my tight end 1 heading into the season. I don't know how you're ultra productive as a rookie. Like I talked about earlier on with Brock Bowers, it's rare for rookie tight ends to come in and produce right away. So I don't know how you do that and then just completely faceplant in year 2. It's been rough, but at this point, I don't know how I put him any higher than this. And then another guy who's been disappointing, Dalton Kincaid. He's averaging 8.1 PPR points per game. I guess he's gotten a little bit unlucky in the touchdown department, only 1 touchdown, but it's clear that he is just not a focal point of this offense, and I think that's really just stamped in here with the Amari Cooper trade. So he's on a good offense, should have touchdown upside. I do think he's a pretty decent player, but the ceiling has just not been there, and even the floor doesn't seem super high. Now moving into the final tier, tier 5, going to start off with Mark Andrews, who kind of showing some life over the last couple of weeks. I'm still not super convinced that, he's going to continue putting up these games, but it's good to see 15.6 and 20.1 PPR points in those last 2. The problem is the usage really isn't getting better. Still only had a 61% route participation in week 7. That's typically not going to get it done at the tight end position. Obviously, it helps that Lamar Jackson goes out, throws for 5 touchdowns, has a huge passing day, but Andrews, still not commanding volume even in those big games, only 8 total targets. So it's good to see him doing something. He obviously has the touchdown upside paired with Lamar Jackson, but I'm not super convinced that he's going to become this consistent option. Then I have Pat Freiermuth going up against the Giants. This is pretty much just where he settled in on the season. The tight end 16 in points per game. I do think, Russ coming in, maybe elevating the passing ceiling of this offense could help him out, but this is still where he's slotting in. Then I have Zach Ertz going up against the Bears. Pretty solid performances in his last 2 games, 4 for 68, 4 for 40 and a touchdown. Would prefer Zach Ertz if Jane Daniels is playing, but 4 for 40 and a touchdown. I think the touchdown was with Marcus Mariota, so who knows, still could be playable. And then the final guy here, Jonnu Smith, going up against the Cardinals. It's kind of weird because without Tua, we just saw, Achane, Hill, Waddle, their production just completely tanked. Whereas Jonnu Smith put up really strong back-to-back games, 5 for 62 and then 7 for 96 and a touchdown. Now maybe Tua's back and it's just going to be force feed Tyreek Hill, force feed Jalen Waddle, force feed Devon Achane. But I don't know if Jonnu Smith is just going to completely disappear, because for him to be productive on an offense that couldn't even get Hill and Waddle the ball, like, it seems like there's something there. He's obviously an athletic player, good with the ball in his hands, so someone to at least keep an eye on. And then I guess an honorable mention here to Will Dissly. This is honestly more of a credit to Justin Herbert for the fact that he could get a guy like Will Dissly 11 targets and have that turned into 8 for 81. Like, that volume really came out of nowhere, but this is a Chargers offense that is severely lacking in weapons. Justin Herbert, in my opinion, is a locked-in top 5 quarterback, and the fact that he has to target Will Dissly 11 times is insanity. But if you're completely screwed at the tight end position, I guess you could do worse than someone who just commanded double-digit targets. But that's going to wrap it up for my top 18. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.